From posting weird things on Twitter all the way to straight up criminal offenders, these are some of the weirdest game developers of our time. And today, me and my good friend DarkApe will take turns stealing their game features and ranking each of the devs on this tier list. Let's just get started. Alright, let's see who we're starting with. Oh damn, okay. As you all probably know, Notch is the brain behind the biggest game of all time, Minecraft. But he's also one hell of a Twitter warrior. He made this list because of his unstoppable urge to post literally anything that pops into his head on Twitter, including, well, yeah, those. Despite all of that, his game design is still amazing, so obviously our masterpiece of a game is going to start its life as a Minecraft clone. Step 1, world generation. Some people might try to convince you that Minecraft devs are lazy. Even I used to believe that, but let me assure you, remaking Minecraft is not easy. On my first attempt, I did what any genius developer would do. I spawned in every single block as its own separate game object. Turns out, that was a mistake. Yeah, apparently my PC is not a big fan of spawning 50,000 individual blocks at once, which is weird because it literally has RGB lights, but we're gonna need a better solution. After doing some research, I found out that Minecraft uses a chunk-based system. Instead of loading every block separately, the game groups blocks together into chunks. Each chunk acts as a single game object that's just shaped and textured to look like a bunch of smaller blocks. This massively reduces draw calls, which in turn means better performance and way bigger worlds. And luckily, this system is super easy to make. After a couple days of pain, confusion, and regret, I finally got it working. I mean, the character controller is utter ass cheek, or what we in the industry call a skill-based movement system. You can now give yourself X-ray, and some chunks still refuse to generate. But I don't care anymore, so I'll leave these problems to DarkApe. Also, for no apparent reason, I decided that the grass would be blue. Yeah, I don't know about that, but most importantly, you can now build yourself a beautiful little hut out of bedrock and sand, climb around in these beautiful blue square trees, and even dig yourself through bedrock and spend the rest of eternity falling through empty space. I mean, come on, these games are basically identical. Also, one really important thing I got working as well is interactive blocks. Not just any interactive block. No, I of course included the Twitter block. Huh? Yes, that's right. In true Notch fashion, you are now required to right-click the Twitter block every few minutes to post something wildly unhinged. And if you don't, you slowly start taking damage. And with that, my part is over. Despite the interesting tweets, this man did give us one of the greatest games of all time. So yeah, easy S tier. Now on to DarkApe.
Okay, so now it's my turn to spin the wheel, but let's check what Lander made first. Just looking at the file names, it looks like he landed on Notch. But let's go ahead and press play, and dang, he made a full world, okay. And it looks like the world just keeps infinitely generating. After a few minutes of playing around, I'd pretty much seen the entire game, and now it was my turn to add something.
Most illegal thing that you have ever done.
Okay, looks like I got YandereDev, who is definitely one of the worst people I could have rolled on this wheel. If you don't already know, YandereDev is the developer of the game Yandere Simulator, where you play as this girl trying to kill everyone who gets in your way of you and this guy. The game completely blew up and thousands of dollars flowing straight into YandereDev's account. But even with all the success, there were a lot of underlying issues with the game, namely the absolutely terrible optimization. Usually, most games only render what you see, but YandereDev was basically rendering every NPC interaction all the time, which resulted in incredible frame drops. I'm sure many people gave him grace at the time since, you know, he was just a small indie dev working on his own, but he just couldn't take accountability. His most famous reasoning for updates taking so long was because
sometimes I spend between 8 and 12 hours going through my email.
Like, I guess, bro. But before I get any further, I actually need to make something for the game. Honestly, most of the other features in Yandere Simulator are either unappealing or straight up illegal. But since this is a Minecraft ripoff and the game was looking pretty barren, I decided to add a structure modeled after the school from the game. The building process was pretty simple. I started with the base of the school, then filled in the walls with white concrete powder, and as these stripes. And finally, I added the floor and the ceiling, but something came very apparent while I was building the school. My game actually started running like Yandere Simulator. Because every block contained its own collider, all individual vertices had to render. This is when I had to make a tough decision. Was I gonna pay homage to the GOAT YandereDev, or did I actually want my players to have fun? I'll just leave it up to Lander. Now that that's decided, the school was looking somewhat convincing. And speaking of schools, in 2023, YandereDev was accused of grooming. Yeah, instead of working on his game or responding to emails, he was apparently getting heated in a minor's DMs. There were even a few Snapchat messages that were leaked, and they might be worse. Eventually, he put out his long-awaited apology. Yeah, it was pretty bad, and it was deleted a short while after. But if you notice the background, there's just a small issue. My school was floating in midair. Because the terrain in this game is so random, the school could spawn anywhere, from midair, or inside a hill, or even completely under the map. So I created this function that creates a 50 by 50 flat area, relatively close to the player spawn. And after flattening the area, the school can sit right on top of it, with no issues at all. With all things considered, I think we're looking at a solid F tier placement.
Okay, now let's see who's the next developer. Pirate Software. Interesting. Pirate Software is known as one of the biggest game dev streamers on the planet, if not the biggest ever. But he has one big flaw which has landed him on this list.
I was critiquing you for mentioning you work at Blizzard so much. I literally never talk about it. When I worked at Blizzard, I did that for Blizzard. Blizzard, 7 years, yeah. Blizzard. I used to work at Blizzard Entertainment. Used to work at Blizzard Entertainment. Your red team specialist for Blizzard Entertainment. And Blizzard is having worked at Blizzard. I grew up at Blizzard.
If it isn't clear already, he's kinda arrogant. This quickly put him in the spotlight as the target of the internet, and this drama has recently been milked completely dry. Anyway, now it's time to add something to the game. But what? You see, we have a problem. Besides this cooking bullet hell game, Pirate Software has only ever published a single thing. And if you haven't been living under a rock for the past year, you probably already know what I'm talking about. Hardbound. The chronic demo, which will probably never be finished, but is still on Steam in an unfinished and rough state. Honestly, it was really challenging to come up with something to add, since the Hardbound demo is pretty flat with few interesting elements, but I still think I came up with something pretty cool. But that'll have to wait a bit, because first we have a big problem. You see, Dargape added this school to the game, and apparently his PC is way better than mine, because when I look at it, so yeah, we'll deal with that first. When I initially make the Minecraft world, I spent a long time optimizing it, so several hundreds of thousands of blocks could be in the world at the same time. So I just rebuilt the school from these exact blocks, which also means that the school is now actually interactable. But as you might have noticed, I didn't add any walls, and because I'm too lazy, I came up with an interesting way to avoid doing so. Let me explain. So as mentioned earlier, it was really hard to come up with anything interesting to steal from Hardbound, but I did find something. Say hi to Story. When you find him, he's standing all alone in the middle of his school, and he has exactly one wish in mind. So let's fix the school. Oh, what beauty. When you now walk over here, you'll notice that a new character spawned in. Now you walk into the school and surprisingly, out of seemingly nowhere, a bed has spawned. Investigating it reveals the suspicious sock, and if you manage to bring it back without dying of disgust, Furry will reward you generously. And now for the best part. You see, from what I gathered, almost every piece of lore is dropped with text on screen in these cave-like places, so I tried to replicate it to the best of my ability. And that's basically it. Now to the ranking. Despite trying to destroy a very positive movement because he didn't really understand it, lying and abandoning his friends in an important World of Warcraft dungeon, faking gameplay to appear smarter, inflating the Twitch hype train to trick viewers into donating more money, and being extremely arrogant.
They can eat my entire ass. The whole thing.
But even though all of these are very valid reasons to dislike him, in my opinion, this doesn't place him anywhere near the bottom of this list. Therefore, he gets a solid B tier. Now back to Dark Ape.
Now it was my turn to spin the wheel one more time. Honestly, I didn't know too much about On, other than the fact that he created the horror game Bad Parenting, and the game blew up fast. People praised its disturbing PS1 style visuals and its terrifying story about a kid dealing with abuse. For a solo developer's first project, it didn't just do well, it went completely viral. YouTube, TikTok, every platform. But none of that explains why his name ended up on this wheel. Because in the beginning of 2025, some serious allegations came out. Documents and screenshots surfaced accusing him of grooming a 14-year-old fan, showing inappropriate messages, emotional manipulation, and even roleplay. So yeah, that makes 2 pedophiles in a row for me. He did not everything, calling them jokes, but I mean, look at the messages. The backlash hit pretty hard. Review bombing, criticism, people turning on the game overnight. And just like that, Bad Parenting went from an indie game success story to something a lot darker. Honestly, knowing all that, I didn't want to touch anything relating to the original story, so I didn't. Instead, I focused on the art style, a creepy PS1 type aesthetic. First, I changed the aspect ratio from 16:9 to 4:3, then added a pixelated texture overlay. It helped, but it was just the beginning. Now, I actually had to make it scary. At first, I tried copying Bad Parenting's vibe. I added this yellow fog around the player, and it looked awful, like actual piss. So I scrapped that and switched to blue fog and added rain to make the game feel more unsettling. And it was better, but it still wasn't horror. The game was missing something, and then I realized the story didn't even have a proper ending. The characters just loop dialogue forever. So I decided to fix that. I started by redesigning the character models. Once those were finished and imported, it was time to add the finishing touches. I added some red post-processing effects and switched to red fog, and finally, the game felt complete. But for its final placement, yeah, I think I'm putting On straight into F tier with YandereDev.
And that wraps this video. It took a bit longer to make than usual, so we'd appreciate it if you told us your thoughts on this concept in the comments. And then maybe we'll make a part 2. Anyway, if you liked the video, you might also like the rest of the videos on our channels, so make sure to go check those out. Thanks for watching and see you next time.